And we're back. This is Don, and I have here Josh with me when we're talking about video games in 2017.
Yeah,
Even though it's February, all
in
right.
2018, yeah.
Yeah, we already discussed all the months from January to August. So now we're on the September.
Yeah.
September. In
What do
case
you...
you didn't understand me while I was saying that weird. So. The first game in September. I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk about this, Josh, since you played more of it.
Yeah, so we're talking about Monster Hunter Stories, first and foremost, in September. So Monster Hunter Stories, for those of you who don't know, is an RPG along the same lines as Pokemon, but using the Monster Hunter monsters. But it's also different from Pokemon in that you, as the monster trainer, are actually fighting alongside your monsters. Which I think it's an interesting twist on the Pokemon formula. Has an interesting story. You're essentially a monster rider, not a monster trainer. I apologize for that. And you're essentially going through the Monster Hunter world to try and figure out why why the world's not right. So, you take your trusty monster, you're hatching eggs and everything, get new monsters. And then you basically, yeah. Now I didn't beat the game. I got pretty far in the game. I absolutely loved it, but then just kind of moved on to Metroid, Samus Returns. Another game for this month we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I got far enough that I know why the Palico that's with you, it looks the way he does, and why there are normal Palicos in the world.
Did you get punched in the face?
No.
Oh, did you get hit by an ugly stick?
Kind
I'm
of.
just kidding. I actually have no issues with the Palco's design. I think it's okay.
Yeah. But it's a really good RPG. It's obviously a little more. It's less mature than Monster Hunter. Not that Monster Hunter is so mature, but it doesn't have like blood or anything in it. It's a kid's Monster Hunter game. Which there's nothing wrong with that. It's a nice little story. Introduces kids to Monster Hunter without actually having to learn all the technical stuff that goes along with Monster Hunter. I thought it was interesting. What did you think about it, Don? I know you didn't play it too much, but
yeah, I played it very briefly. I do like, it's sort of like a Pokemon style Monster Hunter game. I think I've seen, like a lot of fan art of like Monster Hunter across like Pokemon, where like they would use like Pokemon as the armor, and that sort of like implies that you're like killing the Pokemon, and that's kind of horrifying. But it would be like if that was actually a thing. I think Monster Hunter Stories would be like that.
Yeah.
Like you said, it seems like it's for a more like a younger audience. It's got like a anime aesthetic. There's like voice acting, Japanese voice acting. They didn't localize it for
not the voice
reason.
acting. Yeah. Like, they still have the normal Monster Hunter grunts that similar to like how Zelda used to do that before Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, like it's not like super like everything's voiced, but there is some stuff that's voiced.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't want to say it's for kids, but like if like a kid has issues reading or whatever, they can just like listen,
Yeah.
It's you didn't really go too much in depth with the battle system, but it's like it's rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
Except not entirely. It's like it
Right.
can be weighted in a certain way, like the Velociraptor, the Velociprey. They're more like speed. So you want to do whatever beat speed. I forget.
I think it was technical.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The triangle is speed, technical, and power. Power beats technical. Technical beats speed, and speed beats power.
Yeah, that sounds right. I don't recall like 100%. But you have like the rider like actually participating in the battles in addition to the monster. So, in Pokemon games, it's not just it's just the Pokemon that fights, not the trainer. And Shin Megami Tensei, which is Shin Megami Tensei 4, I've been playing that recently. The main MC, the main character, he also participates in battles alongside his demons. So it's kind of like that, and I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Instead of having your dudes fight for you, you fight along with your dudes. So I think it's, like I said, an interesting take on sort of like Pokemon style gameplay. It's kind of refreshing. It's got like Monster Hunter elements to it, and it's cool. But I didn't play it too much, and I probably didn't get to appreciate the game to its fullest. And now that Monster Hunter World exists, I probably won't ever, go back to Monster Hunter Stories, because like the dream Monster Hunter game is Monster Hunter World. So that's where all the people are at right now, and it's what I'm interested in. And right now, if they ever come out with a Switch game, I might be interested in that. So.
I know I'll definitely be interested in that.
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun with World now, but we're not talking about that.
Yeah, that game didn't come out until this year, 2018. Next up is another RPG. Josh, you've never played it.
Nope.
I'm pretty sure most of the people that are listening have never played it. But my friends from high school, they had purchased this game for me to play with them, and it's basically a Dungeons and Dragons kind of game. It's called Divinity Original Sin 2. Or maybe it might have been Divinity 2 Original Sin. No, I think it's Divinity Original Sin 2. That's what I have listed here. But like I said, it's more like Dungeons and Dragons. Like visually, it looks like Diablo. You know what Diablo is, and you know how it looks. It's like over the top, and you like have your RPG character, and you level them up, like doing actiony shit and stuff like that. That's not how it is in Divinity Original Sin 2. In fact, the combat's very like it's turn-based, and it's very tactical, very strategic. You like move a set distance, and it requires like a set amount of like action points, and like your attacks require a set amount of action points per turn, and like you have like a whole team and of like different classings of characters of different classes, and they have like different abilities and stuff like that, and you can really customize it however you want. The amount of customization options is like pretty insane. They wanted to be like Dungeons and Dragons, where you have like the character sheet and shit. So if you're into like tabletop RPGs, give Divinity Original Sin 2 a shot, especially because you can play it online with your friends, and you can hop in like a campaign that's like already in progress basically at any point in the story or whatever, and like just like take over a party member of your friends, or start from scratch and like customize your character a certain way. It's one of the best RPGs that I played in 2017, even though I didn't get very far. Like the amount of like options, like the amount of things that just like happen, that can happen, from like choosing like different dialogue options, from choosing dialogue options as different characters. It's crazy. Like they have something called origin characters. That's in the name of the title. Right. And these are like sort of preset made characters that you can still like give them a different class and stuff. But they have more like story importance to them, instead of like the fully customized characters where they don't really have too much of a story importance. Particularly the one that I played was the Red Prince, who's like a reptilian, fire breathing lizard man who enslaves a bunch of dudes or whatever. And he's kind of an asshole. But at some point, if you have a skill called Pet Pals, you could talk to this like fiery slug thing. And the Pet Pal skills allows you to talk to like creatures and animals and stuff like that. So I was able to talk to this fire slug queen thing, and then convince her to marry me. And it's like mind blown. It's crazy that a game allows you to do something like that. So there's a lot of choices, a lot of dialogue options, and some of them might not end up beneficial to you, and some of them might end up beneficial. Because there's so many options, you can like replay the game and try a different one. Or you could save scum the hell out of the game and just like try different options over and over again, but you're gonna waste a lot of time, believe it or not. And sometimes like, hey, like you kind of just want to kill this dude, and then you go ahead and kill the dude and just jack his shit. Or you could like, instead of buying stuff, you could just steal it from them, like pickpocket them. There's a lot of freedom in this RPG, and that's really what makes this RPG like really awesome. Because of so many all the options and the freedom in what you can choose to do, it makes it pretty cool. And it's online.
Yeah,
and
that's always good.
There are options for split screen local play. I've been able to play split screen local with like controllers and stuff. But I think the ideal way to play is like just using mouse and keyboard and playing with other friends online. Or maybe the ideal way to play is to get out some pen and paper and play some Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of merit to be said for doing that, but
yeah, I mean if you like tabletop RPGs, this is the kind it kind of replicates that experience pretty closely for a video game. So yeah, that's it for Divinity Original Sin 2. It kind of was like swept under the radar because of Persona 5. And also because it's PC game. I think if it has a console release, which there's UI and all that stuff, like controller support, I'm sure it'll come to consoles eventually.
Yeah.
Alright. That's it for Divinity Original Sin 2. I know like literally nobody cares about that game. Anybody that's listening. It's underrated.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I honestly never heard of it, but I mean, I mean, if I was into tabletop games, I would definitely give it a look, like you said.
Yeah.
Um.
So
So
moving
yeah,
on.
yeah. Moving on. Next on the list is Metroid: Samus Returns. I mean, I only played like a couple hours of this game. I didn't get too far in. Um, I enjoyed what I played, but like, I mean, I kind of wish I could use the D-pad. So I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, this game is a remake of Metroid 2, Samus or The Return of Samus. Um, and they added stuff, nice little map and everything. They added its Aeon abilities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to use the circle pad to move around, which I don't know. Anytime you're moving left, anytime you're just moving left or right, I kind of wish you could just use the D-pad. It doesn't
Yeah,
feel
but
right doing it with the joystick.
Aeon abilities like take up the D-pad essentially.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's like the game already it already uses more buttons than what the 3DS needs or has actually. Because like you could select your different weapon types like using the touchscreen buttons or whatever. Like that's the only way you could switch from regular missiles to green missiles or grapple beam or whatever.
Yeah, I wish they could use simplified controls like the Game Boy Advance games did. I understand that the Game Boy Advance games had to use the simplified controls, but they worked perfectly, in my opinion. I just think the circle pad just kind of complicates it a little bit. And sure, you could aim in any direction, but I mean, I personally, I mean, you have that melee attack, which kind of takes the place of aiming, in my opinion. I had a hard time aiming with the game. It didn't control too well for me personally.
I don't exactly agree. I mean like the free aim, like 360 free aim was like I thought that was alright. I know that like if you like do the melee counter, it'll like automatically lock on to whatever you countered, and then you could just spam your shots at it or whatever. I actually didn't really like Metroid Samus Returns. Like I tried my hardest to really like Metroid Samus Returns, and I just think it's okay. At the end of the day, I don't hate it. I think it's an okay game. I liked AM2R a lot more. For those of you who don't know, that was the Metroid 2 remake made by a fan that got cease and desisted by Nintendo. But the AM2R exists out on the internet, and once something is on the internet, it's always on the internet. Okay. Unless it's GeoCities. I'm just kidding. GeoCities is actually archived somewhere, I'm sure. But that's for like the really old heads out there. But anyway, Metroid Samus Returns. I liked AM2R better in the way like the fan like sort of designed the remake. It I played that one first, so maybe that might have skewed my perception a little bit. But AM2R felt more like an evolution of Zero Mission, Like you were talking about how like the controls of like Game Boy Advance games, it should have just been like that, I see that, Like I also wish I could use the D-pad in certain situations, but I get why it's circle pad only. There's just not enough buttons really on the 3DS.
Yeah.
And I think it's really awkward to do like the down motion on a circle pad, but thankfully you could just tap the bottom screen and then you can go to morph ball, and that's a pretty nice feature. But I like with AM2R versus Samus Returns, I like how, you know, the guy made it in such a way that, you know, you can sequence break it as part of like what makes the old Metroid games fun to play for like speedrunners and stuff like that. And I think, you know, they could do things in however order that they want to. Not really however, but like, you know, there is potential for sequence breaking and like going out of line. The Zero Mission was deliberately designed to allow you to sequence break in certain aspects, like at certain points, you know. But I'm sure you could even break it harder than that, than what they anticipated, you know.
Right.
But in Samus Returns, it really feels like they spent a lot of time making sure you don't sequence break. And I can respect, like as a game designer, I can respect deliberately designing a game to be played a specific way. You don't want them to be sequence breaking. You don't want them to break your game, basically. Right. But it just, as somebody who was playing the game, Samus Returns, it felt like a slap in the face. Like literally every single time I attempted to sequence break, you know? Like, you can, because of how powerful the mobility of Spider Ball is, you can potentially go anywhere with Spider Ball. Because, you know, you could go on any surface except spikes. So let's put spikes everywhere to fuck you over. Oh, okay. So I can't, you know, Spider Ball everywhere. How about if I Morph Ball jump to the very top of the map instead of, you know, going along the sides of the map? I'll just bomb my way to the very top. Guess what? There's shit up there keeping you from doing that too. You can get all the way up there, but guess what? There's now a door that keeps you out, that requires you to shoot it a specific way or something. You know, everything just feels like a middle finger to any sequence breaking that I may want to try and do. You know, there were times where, like, I felt like instead of allowing me to go all the way to this door, you should have cut me off at an earlier point, you know? Like, I Morph Ball jumped all the way up this thing, and then, like I said, there was this door right there that I couldn't get past. I was like, why even let me go up here? Right.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb.
It just felt like a, you know, slap on the wrist every single time I try to do it. There's they try so hard to go out of their way to more like annoy me, it seems like. I'm sure like you playing it, you didn't realize the game was trying to annoy you. There's you know, like with the enemy placements, they specifically put those like little flying things to like interrupt you in some way that requires you to just like stop there and melee counter it, and then that's how you deal with everything. You can't just like breeze right through it. And then, you know, I get that, you know, it's like a little bit like Dark Souls. You want to like stop and pop, you know. But it was almost like I said, they are deliberately trying to annoy you with all the enemy placements. Like when you get Screw Attack is like the super powerful power up, right? That allows you to kill things pretty much instantly.
Right, you're pretty much invincible
by like,
you're doing it.
Yeah, by like infinitely space jumping, you could Screw Attack into things. And like this thing wasn't really like a thing in Metroid 2. I don't know. I've never played Metroid 2 to completion. Metroid 2 is actually kind of a terrible game, and it's that also plays into a reason why I kind of don't like Samus Returns. Like this is also a flaw of AM2R2 being a remake of Metroid 2.
Yeah.
But I'll get to that in a second. But anyway, back to Screw Attack. You get Screw Attack, you kill things instantly, but hey, we're gonna start putting those fucking explosive StarCraft banelings that explode if you touch them everywhere now. So you can't just Screw Attack these guys. You know, you have to kill them the normal way. All right. So that's another like fuck you. Like, hey, you got this super powerful power up now. Well, fuck you. So it just everything in the game just feels like it's there to make me play a specific way that they want me to play. You know. And then it's really annoying to me. You know. This
right.
I had just had just played, but like
a little while before you were playing. I remember you were playing AM2R.
Yeah, AM2R, which it gives you a lot of freedom in how you want to do things. And like I said, like both of these games fall into the trap of being a remake of Metroid 2. Metroid 2, like the original Game Boy game, was like absolutely terrible. There's no map. And like the thing that they have you do is like kill all the Metroids. It's Metroid genocide, you know. It's not fun, you know. All the not really all, but like a lot of the boss engagements are the same thing. You're doing the same thing to each of the bosses. And Samus Returns, they like sometimes they'll mix it up or whatever. But it's few and far between. Most of the like boss engagements is pretty much the same. You like shoot these Metroids with missiles. Like I said, this is a fault of AM2R2, but that's because it's a remake of Metroid 2 about killing a bunch of Metroids.
Right.
But you know, AM2R has some unique bosses, and Samus Returns has some unique bosses too, like the Digger Knot or whatever. I don't remember. The bosses in Metroid Samus Returns have this sort of unfun difficulty to them. Like you either like blow them out of the water using melee counters, and spamming them with missiles through the melee counter, or you know don't do the melee counters, and then it's like not easy, like not super easy. The difficulty is like skewed way too much just because you like melee counter some of their stuff, you know.
Right.
And it's like I just don't think it's good. But actually in Dark Souls you could do the same thing too. In Dark Souls, you know, you could like parry a bunch of shit and like get godlike stuff like super fast. I feel like the melee counter throws away like the balance and difficulty. Like I get that, you know, you're timing a thing, and that kind of takes skill or whatever. But actually, the melee counter in Metroid Samus Returns is incredibly generous. There's the game that comes out later this month that we will talk about, and I'll just say it right now: Cuphead. Cuphead has like a parry mechanic too, but the timing is incredibly strict. And like if you fuck up the timing for Cuphead, then you get super fucked, and it's like super punishing because you know you can only take so many hits in Cuphead. So
right.
I like the difficulty in Cuphead. Everything Cuphead does, like I like. Samus Returns, I wasn't feeling it. In terms of like the parry mechanic. So yeah. I have a lot to say about Metroid Samus Returns. Like I said, I tried really hard to like it, and I think it's an okay game. Oh no. Yeah. I after Samus Returns, I played Axiom Verge,
Mm.
and I enjoyed playing Axiom Verge way more than Metroid Samus Returns. So if you want like a Metroid style, a new like a Metroid game to play, a new Metroid game to play, I would highly recommend playing Axiom Verge. Like, not even Metroidvania. If you're looking for a new Metroid, play Axiom Verge. If you want to play a new Metroidvania, you might want to try Hollow Knight. I didn't play it, but that did come out last year, so
Yeah.
give that a shot. I heard it was really good.
I also heard the Mummy Demastered was really good as like a Metroidvania game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It
Which
has
is
good
kind of
pixel art.
interesting. Yeah.
The movie sucks.
Yeah. That's to be expected.
Yeah.
It's Tom Cruise. Yeah, he's never.
Damn. Damn. You know, Tom Cruise used to be a good actor at one point.
Yeah, used to be.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on. Yeah, I think I exhausted why I don't like Metroid Samus Returns. It's a shame. It's a shame. The people that worked on Metroid Samus Returns, I believe it's Mercury Steam.
Mm-hmm.
Mercury
They're
Steam.
the guys who did that
Castlevania game on 3DS, and that game was very mediocre.
Divisive. Yeah.
Metroid Samus Returns is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people like Samus Returns. Like you liked it okay, right?
I mean, I didn't get too far, but I didn't really like how it controlled. It was. I mean, like I killed, but like, I mean, you already mentioned this problem, but like I spent a lot of time fighting different Gamma Metroids.
Yeah,
I think they were the Gamma Metroids, right?
But it's pretty much the same engagement, you know, every single time. And there's just like a lot of. I remember there being like extraneous areas, for certain Metroids.
Mm-hmm.
Something that pissed me off a lot, that really annoyed me, was like when you're fighting this Metroid and then like you get it down to a certain amount of health or whatever. It leaves the area through like a tile that only Metroids can pass through, and they will go one direction, but they can be the opposite direction. It's basically a portal for them to go somewhere else, to a different area, and these areas, like it's kind of like random what area that they appear in. And you have like a little indicator that shows you, hey, this is where like a Metroid's close by or whatever. But you know, if you like totally wreck a Metroid using the melee counters like super fast, then you have like these extra areas that they go to for nothing. That there's literally no purpose for this area other than to be like different scenery for fighting a Metroid, you know? And like I said, it's just there to annoy you. Like them going away and then you chasing them down again. Like finding them in a different area that serves no other purpose other than to be a different area for the Metroid to be in. Like, as even the terrain is not all that different. There might be like lava or some shit in it, but it's really not all that different. Literally, all the engagements with these Metroids are basically the same. The terrain might be a little bit different, but it's basically the same. But it just annoys the hell out of me that they have these extra areas for these Metroids to go to just to annoy you. Basically having you chase them down, you know? That is probably the last thing I will say about Metroid Samus Returns. And like, maybe I can, you know, I've hopefully opened people's eyes to Metroid Samus Returns and how they deliberately like try to annoy the player. Like, a lot of the decisions and like the gameplay and how it's designed, and, like the level layouts and stuff, is deliberate, and I can respect the like I said, as a game developer, I respect certain design decisions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so annoying.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to, you know, shoot things and flip around and be cool and powerful and shine spark. Ugh, that's the worst offense. Like, that's the worst offense. Like, even though Metroid 2 didn't have shine sparking or whatever, the fact that you can't shine spark in Metroid Samus Returns, that sucks. That's like probably my favorite power up, the speed boost. That's after me like talking about how I hate Sonic and the high octane gameplay, right?
I mean that's different though. Like that's something you have to charge up and
That's different.
Then you do the loop de loops. All right. I mean I think it's time for us to get caught in the infinite.
Oh man, you guys want to hear me talk about a video game? Like complain about a video game some more? You guys ready for this? Too bad. Well, we're actually gonna skip this game so you don't actually have to hear me talk for a little bit. Alright? So Josh, you can talk about the next game, and then I'll go back one game, and then I'll talk about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
Alright. So basically the next game on the list is after Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is Pokken Tournament DX. Now, I played the original on the Wii U for a little bit. I didn't really get too into it. I think I said this earlier tonight. I'm not really into fighting games. I have a good time with it. This is another one where I owned it, but I didn't really play it until my nephew saw it, and he's like, "Oh, this is awesome! I want to play it." So started playing it. Didn't really think anything of it. Then, after he left, went back to his house. I was playing it a little bit more, and I have to say I don't really like the two different. I mean, I don't know if this is a Tekken thing. I've never played Tekken before, but Pokken Tournament has the two different phases. One's like an up close phase, and the other is just kind of like you're running around the entire field rather than being in like a regular fighting game.
It's literally called field phase.
Plain field phase, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I enjoy the field phase, but I don't like the what's the other one?
I actually don't know.
It's like a single. It basically puts you into the same line of action of a regular fighting game.
See, I think most people feel the opposite. I think people like the field phase less than the one-on-one like linear close combat.
Mm.
And I think personally, if the game was just that, I probably would like it a little bit more. Having played the Wii U version like maybe once, like I bought the game twice for me and a friend. We only played it like once or twice. I couldn't really jive with Pokken Tournament.
Yeah, I mean I couldn't really get into it. That's kind of my point. I feel like if they wanted to do, if they did one phase, like if it was more focused, I would like the game more. It's the fact that there's two different ones. Like if it was that linear phase, I like the one-on-one. I'd still play it. Like if it was just that, I would still play it. But it's not, and you kind of have two different move sets, and that's kind of why I don't like it. Because you have to learn twice as much stuff in order to be good. Now, maybe it's just because I'm not into fighting games and I don't really like learning different combinations and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't like that. Like, I think they should just get rid of the phase shift mechanic, or like I don't know. I would have liked it more if there was only one phase. I said like a lot in that sentence.
Yeah,
I'm getting tired, guys.
I probably am the same way. I'm same.
hmm
Uh, yeah, I think it probably would benefit if it was just one phase. It's cool that it's getting some DLC. There's Aegis Slash and another character.
Blastoise.
Blastoise, yeah, that's cool. The DX version has like all these cool characters that I would have liked to play in the original,
Yeah.
like Scissor.
Yeah. Caesar. Yeah, I agree with you. They should have, kind of had those characters as DLC in the original. But no, they focused on the arcade instead, and then brought DX over. Anyway, I mean, it's enjoyable. I mean, if
Did
you
you
like
play the
fighting
Wii
games,
U
you'll probably
version?
like it. Like 1 or 2 matches. That's about it.
Yeah, same way. Well, I didn't actually get DX. That's DX is or the original was the reason why I didn't get DX.
Yeah.
I already had an opinion of it.
Yeah, I wish if I would have played for like an extra hour, I probably wouldn't have bought DX.
Yep.
To be honest, like I mean, if you like fighting games, are all Tekken games like that?
Uh, Tekken is it doesn't have like a phase shift or anything like that. It's just like
So that's something exclusive to Pokken.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's I don't want to say it's more linear, but it's definitely like free roam in Tekken. Like you are
Right.
facing your opponent for the most part.
Yeah, I thought that's how it was, but I wasn't 100% sure because, I mean, they're calling it Pokken Tournament, so I would assume
It
it's
was like
more
a
like Tekken. Yeah,
game
like
with
it's
Pokemon.
a Tekken thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think they just I don't know, call it Pokken.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think Pokken Tournament DX is also falls under like that sort of arms thing where not a whole lot of people are into it. I mean, Josh, you're a prime example. Not a whole lot of people are into fighting games. Okay,
Yeah.
it is actually a niche genre, and Dragon Ball Fighters, it's done a lot to capture the mainstream audience, which
Right.
has brought it a lot of success. But that's a 2018 game. We're not gonna get into that.
Right.
What we're gonna get into is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Okay, that game came out in 2017. And I tried incredibly hard to like Marvel vs. Capcom. It's a Marvel vs. Capcom game with X, Mega Man X, and you can
Right.
have him on a team with Zero.
Oh, yeah. This sounds good.
Yeah, but they somehow botched it.
It's Capcom.
They Capcom sent this game out to die, basically.
Yeah.
And I wrote this like super long Steam review about how basically Capcom fucked up. And I don't really want to just like reiterate what I said in the Steam review, but basically Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, like, there's aspects to it that are enjoyable. Like the gameplay is actually pretty cool. You have like these different stones, and they sort of like affect your team dynamic in different ways. You have like the Power Stone, and it basically can extend your combos for more damage. That makes sense for the Power Stone.
Right.
And then you have like the Reality Stone, where you can bend reality you have a projectile that tracks your opponent for you. Or you can have the Space Stone, which, controls space. And you could put your opponent in a box. Little box on screen for a little while to keep them from moving outside of that space. So these stones, they have like each unique properties that can really change the style of gameplay for the person who's playing or whatever.
Right.
And you have like a really cool stone, the Soul Stone, where like there was only one thing that Soul Stone was ever gonna do, and that's like revive your teammate. But in addition to that, they have it to where it does like some Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom 1 like crossover, like two people on screen at once. Or actually, it would be 3 screen now. Fighting for you, like you have like both of your dudes fighting at the same time, like at the press of buttons.
Right.
Like they will both perform their like heavy kick at the same time, or whatever special move. And it gets crazy, So all the stones and all that stuff, it's actually genuinely, pretty cool, and it's actually pretty fun to play. However, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite has a incredibly terrible roster. Because Marvel, like, it's so clear to me that like Marvel was trying to, like, they have this like Marvel Cinematic Universe agenda with the roster. They're like, hey, you can't put X-Men in here because Fox has the rights to this shit, whatever.
Yeah.
So no X-Men characters, no Doom, no Fantastic Four. You can only have these characters that are representative of MCU films and also promotional, like as promotion for upcoming MCU films. So that's why you have Captain Marvel as like one of 3 females in the entire game.
The others, I know Chun-Li's in there, right?
Yeah. And then Morrigan. And Gamora. And as a DLC character, there's Black Widow, Monster Hunter.
Yep.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But there's very few females on the roster.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame because like obviously there are really cool, strong females that could have been playable but aren't. Like a bunch of X-Men.
Yeah. I've never been a fan of X-Men. I mean, not that I'm glad they're not in it. I'm just saying, it's not something I actually liked. Both growing up and currently. Although, I mean, I do like Deadpool, and he's an X-Men.
Yeah, Deadpool is cool. And like a lot of the assets for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was recycled from Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but at the same time, it wasn't. That's why there was like the whole ordeal with like Chun-Li like looking super ugly before like patch or whatever. I don't know, but the game looks terrible. Graphically, it's awful, absolutely awful. The like hyper realism style.
It's not for those characters.
It pales in comparison to like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where it's like highly stylized comic book.
Right.
It looks like a comic book come to life.
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot more love put into Marvel vs. Capcom and
Mm.
Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. That game feels like way more a passion project than Infinite does. Infinite feels like a mobile cash-in kind of game.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why.
I mean, it looks like one.
That's why there's the DLC characters. Like they develop the DLC characters like during the development of the game, but they just held them back to like charge money for them. Like the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's they were trying to just make money with Marvel's Capcom Infinite. It didn't seem like they actually wanted to make a good game. I mean, it kind of was a good game. Like the gameplay was great, but like there was no like Capcom themselves didn't, or even Marvel included, they didn't put a whole lot into Marvel's Capcom Infinite in terms of budget. You know, I remember reading. It was a rumor, but like basically the budget for Street Fighter V's DLC characters, like lineup for all the DLC characters, was more than the budget for Marvel's Capcom Infinite in its entirety.
Wow, that's
like
kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, like the you could tell, man. Like the fucking like the main menu is just like portrait stills. Like that, it's just like the portrait art for like character selection and stuff like that,
Yeah. Man, what a shame. A lot of people were excited for that game when they first announced it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Marvel's Capcom game,
Yeah.
Like, how do you fuck up Marvel's Capcom? This is how you fuck it up. So
they found a way.
They found a way. They managed to make a game that fucking features Mega Man X, Zero, and Sigma. And like, even though they like reuse a lot of assets from Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, like you would think like, oh, because we're reusing a lot of stuff, the roster would be like basically the entirety of Marvel vs. Capcom 3 plus like way more, but like the actual new characters, like there's very few actual new characters. I'd count like Jeddah as a new character, which is like the Darkstalkers character.
Yeah.
Except he's never been in a 3D game before. So that's why I count him as a new new character. X counts as a new character. Gamora counts. Ultron. But like most of the actually new characters were reserved for DLC. If the DLC had just been a part of the base roster, it probably could have helped out.
Yeah, but then they don't get all that extra cash.
Yeah, But you're basically just milking the diehard fans that appreciated.
Yeah.
What's like there, I guess. Like me. I got the DLC. I really wanted to play Monster Hunter. I wanted to play Monster Hunter character in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, or not Infinite, but like in a Marvel vs. Capcom game. Like just a versus game in general. Like that was like probably my most wanted character aside from like Mega Man. In Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And Monster Hunter's moveset in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is like a dream. She uses like all sorts of weapons, but she primarily uses my main weapon, the greatsword.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
She's got reach.
Yeah. And her model looks great. It's not like Chun-Li, who looks terrible, or actually who originally looked really terrible. Like for the most part, the entire style of like the game, it looks kind of awful. And what's weird is, I think again, is Marvel's fault. It's like, hey, we want it to be like the MCU, so do this. It look hyper realistic. If you look at the concept art in Marvel's Capcom Infinite, you could probably look it up online. You most definitely can. Just type in Marvel's Capcom Infinite concept art, or like Black Widow Marvel's Capcom Infinite concept art. You know, you can see like concept art for literally all the characters, and they're like the style for the concept art is like, the art is like really well done. It almost seems like it should have been the portrait art for like the character faces and stuff like that, or on the character select screen and stuff like that. But it's not. It's just like you know, tucked away in the gallery or whatever, and the game looks super awful. But if it looked like that concept art, I think it would have been different.
Yeah. I think it's just that style, honestly, because they tried to make it more comic booky than like balance both styles like they usually do.
No, they tried to make it more film-y, actually.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That's not comic booky.
Right,
Marvel's Capcom 3 is the one that like looks like a comic book, and it looks great. You know?
Yeah.
So coming from that, it's just like, hi. You know?
Yeah, they gotta mess up a good thing.
Yeah, like I said, I tried so hard to like Marvel's Capcom, and it actually pains me because the way they're treating it. They actually, very very recently, they like announced some Capcom Pro Tour stuff, which is like their like Capcom's competition for Street Fighter. But they literally did not announce anything from Marvel's Capcom. So even they've given up on their title. I'm pretty sure they fired everyone, included like involved around Marvel's Capcom. You know? They got rid of Peter Rosas, aka Combo Fiend. I haven't heard anything from Mike Evans, regards to Marvel's Capcom Infinite. They had like somebody else come in and was like, hey, here's this patch for Marvel's Capcom Infinite where we nerfed a bunch of shit on Dante. But it's none of the things that makes Dante like that much worse. He's actually still the best character in Marvel's Capcom Infinite. And so I don't know what the continued support for Infinite is. It seems like that there isn't gonna be any more support.
What a shame.
And you know what did it in? Dragon Ball FighterZ. I'm pretty sure Dragon Ball FighterZ was like the nail in the coffin before Infinite came out. You know, when FighterZ like, hey, what's up? We're at E3 or whatever. Check this out. People just taken to how visually stunning.
Well, yeah, it looks exactly like the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's like so much love put into FighterZ with like all the references.
Man,
Marvel's Capcom Infinite.
Yeah, what a train wreck of a game.
Yeah, like there's stuff about it to like, but if you are sort of like either casual or fighting game enthusiast, you could do better. You know? Than Marvel's Capcom Infinite. Obviously, there's Dragon Ball FighterZ that exists now, so just play that game.
Yeah, just play.
Yeah. All right, so man, so I didn't realize the next few games are also games that I'll talk about, but I'll try to get through them. Except the next game that I will be talking about, well, I'll probably talk at lengths about, which is Doki Doki Literature Club. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Doki Doki Literature Club is another visual novel game. I like visual novel games. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Where do I even start? Where do I even start? Josh, you know nothing about Doki Doki Literature Club.
Nope.
All right. And the internet that's listening may have no idea what Doki Doki Literature Club is, except for the people that like watch Game Grumps or whatever, which I'm sure are some of you. Doki Doki Literature Club is this game by this dude named Dan Salvato, and Dan Salvato is this super brilliant guy, really brilliant guy. He worked on Project M a little bit. He made he wrote a lot of code for like melee cheats and like making it widescreen and stuff like that, or the universal controller fix and stuff like that. That's something that's a big deal in the Smash community right now.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just a very important person when it comes to manipulating code for Smash games. He has his own hack that didn't really take off for Melee, but it's called 20XX TE Tournament Edition, and it had this like unfathomable feature to this mod for Super Smash Bros. Melee for the Nintendo GameCube. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He added functionality for saving replays in Melee. And in those replays, they even have input display, so you could even see what buttons are being pressed by people in these replays.
That's pretty cool.
That's crazy, that's something that they didn't have until Brawl, having replays or whatever. So he retro fitted this functionality into Super Smash Bros. Melee. Because Melee fans are just that crazy and brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Dan Salvato. And I was following him on his Twitter because of how much of an impact he's made on the Melee community, basically. I use his cheat codes or whatever in Dolphin, or using the true widescreen cheat to play Melee at widescreen on the Wii or something like that, using Homebrew or whatever. But anyway, and I also play Project M. But anyway, I've been following Dan on his Twitter, and he was teasing Doki Doki Literature Club, and I had no idea that he was just teasing some Wii visual novel game. I thought he was going to do something Smash related, and that's basically why I've been explaining the background of the developer for this video game. I thought he was going to make a Smash clone or something. So it really surprised me when he came out with this visual novel that isn't what it seems. It's very obvious that it's one of those visual novels that isn't what it seems. It pretends to be hey, this happy-go-lucky club where you just write poems to get in the pants of waifu girls, but it quickly, not really quickly, but it does take a horrifying turn. There are some horrifying elements to it, and it just it messes with you psychologically. It's a psychological horror kind of game, and I really don't want to spoil much about Doki Doki Literature Club, but anybody like who was listening to me earlier about talking about Danganronpa, there's a part at the end of Danganronpa 2. Like, having played Doki Doki Literature Club before Danganronpa 2, Danganronpa 2 reminded me of Doki Doki Literature Club. So, anybody that's played either of those games, they might, check out one or the other. It's quite an experience. It really messes with your expectations. It's kind of like Undertale. It's an experience that can only work as a video game. So it really accentuates video games as an art. There's a lot to be said from experiencing Doki Doki Literature Club. And it's fun watching somebody who has never experienced Doki Doki Literature Club play Doki Doki Literature Club, because then you can see their reactions and stuff. It's a really interesting game with really interesting deep lore. Like I said, the creator is brilliant. If you like visual novel games, you like stories, characters that good characters, you want to feel for said characters, empathy and shit like that, and have that all taken away, then play Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah, seems like an interesting game. I mean, I haven't this is the first time hearing of it, but I mean, I like those type of games, like Ace Attorney and well, yeah, I mean, you said it earlier, Danganronpa, and this. I mean, from what you said, it sounds like it's right in with them.
I mean, this one's more like it's just more straight visual novel. There's no logical deduction that you need to do. You're just really experiencing a story with some branching paths. But it does some really cool stuff, being a video game, and I liked it a lot. And it has this it walks a thin line of me recommending it to people, because I like it a lot, but there's a lot of horrifying things to it that maybe not that might not sit well with you. It might disturb you. There's literally warnings everywhere in the promo trailer in the beginning of the game. It says, hey, don't play this game if you are easily disturbed. Before I played that game, I didn't think I was easily disturbed. After I played that game, I am most definitely easily disturbed. There were moments where I was like, okay, skip. Yeah. But, so it's, like I said, it walks a thin line of simultaneously being a game that it's just really great experience, but it's hard for me to recommend to everyone. I don't want to subject people to things that might be uncomfortable for them.
Yeah.
So, that's Doki Doki Literature Club. I don't want to spend too much more time on Doki Doki Literature Club. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it. But for anybody that's already played it, they probably also love it. You could watch somebody play it on. Can't do it yourself. And it's like I said, it's just it's visual novel. There's the gameplay aspect of it is you coming up with poems or whatever, using keywords to sort of influence the the character that you want to get with most. You know, there's like a little cutesy girl that seems younger and simpler, and there's more like sophisticated, dark, almost emo kind of girl. More so creepy. Then you you can use words that would like sort of influence that choice. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're coming up with poems and then you share poems with each other or whatever. So that's sort of like the basis of the. But there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
It plays with your expectations. Like I said, it's very similar to Undertale in that regard. That's it. Doki Doki Literature Club. I like it. It's quite an experience. Moving on. There's 2 more games that I will try to keep to a minimum. Talking about. This one is a game on the Nintendo Switch. I got it for the eShop. It was pretty cheap, and I like Picross games, so it's Picross S, basically Picross for the Switch. And if you don't know what Picross is, it's basically like a Sudoku puzzle, but with like pixel art pictures or whatever, like tiny little sprite pictures. So on the 3DS, there's like Pokemon Picross or something like that.
Yeah.
Play that. Picross S is just like generic shit, like shoe, or butterfly or something like that. You know. The fun comes from like figuring things out. You know. Obviously, it's a puzzle game. However, my issue with Picross S is that it's not touchscreen. That's what bothers me about like some Switch games. Like there's functionality for touchscreen, for the Nintendo Switch. But because like a lot of the games, they kind of just are intended to be played docked. They don't have touchscreen functionality. You know?
Right.
But Picross is a game that would greatly benefit from having touchscreen controls, you know?
Right.
That's how it was on the DS. That's how it was on the 3DS. So now for the Switch version, there's no touchscreen. That's like some horse shit. All right, so that's it for my Picross S review.
Yeah, I mean, I only ever played that Pokemon Picross on the 3DS.
I really enjoyed Pokemon Picross a lot, actually. It probably I spent a lot of time, the most time on Picross, Pokemon Picross. It made me as skilled at Picross as I am now, which is not very skilled, but you know.
Right.
I think I'm an intermediately skilled Picrosser. Alright. Moving on.
Yeah,
this will be the last one for September, and I'll be talking about Cuphead. And still a few more months to go. Okay, but anyway, Cuphead is super fantastic. I briefly mentioned it before when I was talking about Metroid Samus Returns. I super love Cuphead, and I don't even own it. Actually, my sister-in-law, she shared it, shared her Steam library, and that's how I was able to play Cuphead. I would not play it on Xbox because I don't have an Xbox.
Yeah,
that's an unfortunate thing of Cuphead, you know. Because it's like sort of funded by Microsoft, it's kind of exclusive to, you know, Windows and Xbox. So it'll never come to the Switch, basically.
Yep, or even the PS4.
Yeah. But Cuphead is a game worth playing on PC. Like, if you're not a PC gamer, go out of your way to play some Cuphead, bro. On PC. For you, in your case, you could probably get it on Xbox.
Yeah.
Just get Cuphead. Like, don't get the Windows version of Cuphead because apparently it has some weird performance issues. Get the Steam version. But Cuphead, man, visually, it's amazing. You know, like, no game has really gone for like that really old cartoon style,
right?
Before, like, literally trying to replicate the animation
Of that era.
Yeah, the animation of that era, like the style of the animation of that era, and all the like artifacts of like the not really the bloom, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. But there's also like the lines and stuff like that. It's not clean, you know. It's not 100% clean.
Right.
It looks like hand drawn animation, you know.
Right.
And for the most part, it is hand drawn. They actually did like animate it like you would old school style, which is like
frame by
frame, yeah. On paper, basically. But they colored it digitally. That's like the only digital thing that they did. You know, aside from it being a video game.
Right.
But it looks great. It's mostly like boss fights, but like each boss fight is like amazing. They have like so many phases or whatever, and then like they each have like all these attacks, and they all have like these telegraphs for their attacks. So it's random what you can get for these attacks sometimes. But you know, it's not something that you can't just adapt to.
Right. And that's the thing about like that old cartoon style. I always felt like, you know, I mean, obviously it's animation, but it always felt like so animated that like it lends itself to those tells.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's incorporated into the gameplay perfectly. The parry mechanic, it makes the game like sort of like a fighting game in disguise. Cuphead is actually a game that I like. As soon as I played it, I was like, man, the game that I want to make a similar game to this. It's basically a single player, quote unquote, single player with co-op fighting game. That it even has references to fighting games. Like,
yeah,
they show their influence from fighting games with the parry mechanic, with like the Ken and Ryu frogs.
Yeah,
they're like different moves from Street Fighter. The background looks like it's straight out of Street Fighter.
Yeah, Cuphead is one of those games that I definitely want to play.
There's a lot of homages to like classic run and gun games like Metal Slug and stuff like that.
Right.
Gunstar Heroes, the Batman Robin game. Like one of the bosses is just like straight up exactly
the Mega Man boss.
Very similarly to well, the dragon, like that's straight up Mega Man 2.
Yeah, that's literally the boss from Mega Man 2.
Yeah. But I was talking about like the cat or whatever. I think it's the cat.
Oh.
From Batman Robin. There's just like tons of references everywhere to classic games that inspired him. But, you know, Cuphead stands basically above all those games. Like they didn't just seek out to be like those games. They basically sought out to be better than.
Yeah.
So you can also play co-op. Cuphead's so amazing. I've actually never beat it. I need to get around to beating it, but I kind of want to beat it with somebody. You know.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where I am in Cuphead just by myself, but I kind of want to beat it with somebody else. I also love the story. It's kind of like dark, you know, reminiscent of that sort of era.
Yeah.
Like, hey, deal with the devil. Visually looks great. Gameplay's crisp. Controls crisp. That that works in tandem.
Right. Yeah.
And the soundtrack, amazing. Like big band, jazz, whatever, works perfectly for the game. Game would be even better if it was on the Switch.
Yeah, it's just that Microsoft is a bunch of douchebags.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they might. We have Minecraft on the Switch.
That's true.
Maybe they might. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, you never know.
You never know. But
still holding out for that GoldenEye port.
Yeah,
to
sure.
The Virtual Console.
Sure. I think the patent for the GoldenEye game is ending soon.
It's all over the place. Yeah.
So you might actually get it. Who knows?
Yeah,
Whatever.
Actually.
We were talking about Cuphead. I love Cuphead.
Yeah.
And Mugman.
Mm-hmm.
And the music. And the visuals. And the gameplay. The difficulty, it's hard, but it's nothing you can't get good at. You can learn the bosses. There's nothing that I feel is unfair in Cuphead. I mean, a lot of casual scrubs out there might think it's unfair, but no, I think Cuphead's very fair.
Only thing I think is unfair is that it's not on the Switch, but we already said that, so
yeah. It is like that said, Cuphead is actually pretty hard. It's pretty hard, but I like that difficulty. I was talking, like I said, about Metroid Samus Returns earlier. The difficulty is kind of in Samus Returns or whatever. Cuphead, I like the difficulty in Cuphead. Okay, that's it. That's September. Maybe we should stop there.
Yeah, we can stop there.
Talk about some other games in the next podcast. All right?
Yeah.
All right, stop in there.